Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tuesday edition of Brown Bag Bets. Powered by BetSperts, we are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. And I know, Andy, isn't it just the catchiest little tune? We always catch ourselves dancing to it in the background. We may or may not have some video of a few of our guests dancing to it in the background. Just a great way to start your day.
It really is. It gets me going in the morning, especially on it's just Monday part 2. I mean, we'll get there, but it always feels like Tuesdays are slow for me, especially I'm surprised 2 days in a row. I can't even say today's slate is bad. There's actually a ton of high-end basketball games, which is not what I usually bet, but if you want to watch some college basketball, there's a shitload of good games. We'll get into some of that later. The NBA slate's kind of the other way around. Yesterday was our big day, with all the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday games that we had and a full slate of games, even though some of them were horrible. Although, I guess unless you were one of the people that bet down the Knicks total down to whatever, it didn't matter. Like we said, it got bet down 5 points, maybe take it easy. That wasn't true. Don't watch that. It's rough. It's rough watching that stuff early in the day unless you had a shitload of unders. So there were some decent games. So, I mean, anything stuck out with you besides our presumptive Eastern Conference Finals matchup that was pretty damn good?
Really, really fantastic game. I think that's kind of the story of the night. Unfortunately, we lost our under there, but it was a really absolutely an entertaining game. I wonder, next time around here, if Brooklyn can continue to shoot as well as they did last night. I didn't see the final number, but I think they were north of 50% from the three-point line, and it just seemed like every time they needed a big shot, either Kevin Durant or James Harden or even Joe Harris was pulling up for three and just piling the ball into the hoop. Conversely, on the other side, the Bucks just had an awful shooting night, but still had only a few point difference. So, despite kind of the one game, and as much as I was talking about the Bucks and kind of being concerned about the Nets, as much as I have some crow to eat myself this morning, I still feel like Milwaukee's going to have a great chance in this series. Did you get a chance to watch that?
Parts of it. You know how you can just kind of watch a game through Twitter or, just catching clips of it here and there. There was so much going on and I was trying to get some stuff done. So I actually didn't catch much NBA. I flipped to whatever game was on late before deciding I didn't want to watch that. Instead catching, I watched a bad sequel. I can't remember what it was, but it was not great. So I probably
Warriors Lakers
NBA. Yeah, I think it was Warriors Lakers that was on later. And I didn't catch much NBA. I did stay up. I just talked to Alex off air about this. I hate betting the late games because I'm old and washed, and my game didn't start till super late because it was a West Coast game. And of course, once I'm like, well, if they get blown out, I'll go to sleep, and that wasn't true either. So it was nice to get San Diego. Excuse me, getting ahead of myself. Who were New Mexico? The Lobos. The Lobos kind of end to end. They were never outside of the number. It was a 7-point loss. Really more of end of the game stuff. I mean, they were right there within a possession for a lot of the game. So good for them. That was also nice. Yeah, Knicks Nets moneyline parlay. There you go. And yeah, it's another good day of basketball, like I said. And maybe I'll open that up to. I run numbers on every game. I just don't bet into these major markets. I stay away from them. So the entire Big East, I think, is playing just a couple games. There's a bunch of Big Ten games. There's a few ACC games. You got at least 3 SEC. It looks like 4. So a bunch of good games. If anyone has questions on those, I can probably answer that. But yeah, before we get to college, you want to head into today's NBA action? I don't think you bet anything, but
unfortunately not. Still looking. Just about everybody, since we had a big day yesterday, the league gives just about everybody the day off. We still have 2 games tonight. I think they're going to be a lot more fun than you might think looking at some of the matchups here. First up is Oklahoma City against Denver. Oklahoma City's been, I think, a much more competitive team than just about anybody expected. I think that this will be kind of a fun game to watch. I do wonder, though, at this point, Al Horford is going to be out in this game, so it looks like they're going to be starting Roby at center with a lot of minutes with Mike Muscala. As just about everybody knows, the Denver Nuggets have one of the best, if not the best, center in the league, and Nikola Jokic, who I think should just have a fantastic night tonight. I'm going to dig into some of his player props when those open in a few hours. I think he's a nice name to circle on DFS, even though I'm sure a lot of people are going to be playing him, and he's kind of a high-budget person. There's a lot of reasons to think that he's going to have success tonight going against this Oklahoma City team. The line sits right at 10. The total's at 220. it makes perfect sense to me. I make this line. I've got the total exactly 220 myself. Now the spread, I do show a little bit of value there, but I haven't accounted properly probably for the Al Horford injury and kind of the matchups there. So a stay away from me. I lean Oklahoma City plus 10 if I kind of had to play something there, but I think that'll be a fun first game. Are you going to watch any Jokic tonight, Andy?
Oh, what time's that one on?
It should be 7 o'clock my time, so probably 6 o'clock your time.
Yeah, I'll probably catch that. I'll get home for supper today. Watch some b-ball. I don't know what time my game is. I haven't even checked what time my college basketball game is. We'll have to determine. And again, I probably won't watch that. I hate watching the games at bet. There's nothing more maddening. I mean, anybody who saw just the general fuckery that you can have in some of these games, and ask the walk-on kid from Kansas who launches a 3 at the buzzer from like Dame, it's like from Dame range for no reason to get inside the number on the bank shot. That was
everywhere.
Yeah, that was, I remember seeing, I'm like, oh no, like this is going to take over the timeline for at least the next half hour. And honestly, there was a couple ones, Citadel plus 13.5. Like, there's no reason for there to be, much in doubt there. They were they were inside the number like the whole game. They missed a free throw, maybe 2 at the end to not cover a 13.5, which is rough. Yeah, sorry for anybody who had. But as I say, it's the silver lining of, you're always going to remember these bad beats, but you got to think somebody was on Kansas. Everybody's, every single bad beat is somebody else's lucky win. So someday you'll be the asshole that bet Kansas instead. And that someday might be later this week. Honestly, these things happen all the time. I end up on the wrong side of these, and you just write down when you go ahead.
Looks like both of these games start at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm not sure why they would stack them that way. It would be 8 p.m. You can have it, pull yourself a bourbon and enjoy a little NBA. The second game is Pelicans Jazz. The number right now I'm seeing, it looks like it's 6.5, 6 for Utah. The total's right around 217.5. Again, very close to the numbers that I'm seeing. It looks like the market's pretty tight with what I was expecting today. Again, would lean under here. These two teams have been great under teams this year. I know a couple people in our basketball chat like the Jazz here. It's probably a good matchup for them, but it's not enough for me to really get too enthused here. Again, if I had to make a play here, probably look at something like an under, but it should be a fun game to see Zion Williamson and all those guys play against the Jazz.
Yeah, unfortunately, those two games are on at the same time as the game I'll be betting tonight. So it looks like I can't. Oh no, yeah, I had a little trouble this morning with my internet, so I really don't. No, I didn't mean to put 2 units. I might even ask the dev team. Somebody said you bet SDS or San Diego twice today in Bet Spurts. No, I didn't mean to do that. I'll fix it if I can. I'm not sure. You can't delete picks on the app, which is one of the, the main points of the app. You shouldn't, somebody asked me like, oh, I bet something and I changed my mind. Like, how do I fix that? Like, no, pretend you bet that with a bookie or a sports book and you changed your mind. What are you going to do? You have to bet the other side and eat the juice. That's the same as in real life. So, no, I don't have 2 units on San Diego. Apologies if it came off that way. I'll get that fixed. I think what happened is one of the lines came down at the book I was using, and then it glitched out the stuff. So I didn't think I submitted it. Looks like I did submit it twice. But anyway, on to something I've mentioned like 9 times and never put up, and everybody knows because they follow on the app. San Diego.
Why are you going to do it?
Plus 9.5. Only 1 unit. I bet the same in every game. I'm not using any sort of staking as far as you guys know. So just 1 unit on this, and do not confuse. This is Frank bet 4 units. That's very good. I'm happy for that.
Maybe go buy a little bit on the other side.
Yeah, just keep hammering it. We'll see maybe this line's moving. I mean, it's
that's true. You could open the middle and the back end.
Honestly, there's a super juicy 10 at Pinnacle right now. If you want to pay minus 118 for it, wouldn't suggest that. But yeah, a couple of decent defenses going at it with each other. San Diego's had a bit of a break after the Christmas, as a lot of teams did with some of the shutdowns and just the general scheduling. So they've only played 1 game, I think, in the last stretch here, and it was at home. Loyola Marymount is right there in Southern California, right up the coast. So not a big travel spot for them, but I like this. I make this a lot closer to like a 2-possession game than 9.5. So happy to take this. Like, don't joke around about this sort of stuff, guys. It says Ben's Patreon has 3 units on Loyola. That would not be good. Yeah, I like this. This is my only play. It is, again, I bet the latest game. I'm just never going to get any sleep if I'm staying up for these awful games. And then do not confuse. We have a third. It is not the San Diego State Aztecs. It is not the. I don't even know if those teams play today, but we've had confusion with Montana and Montana State. So I mean, keep your head on a swivel with these teams with multiples. There's actually a third San Diego team now with UC San Diego joining D1. They're out of La Jolla, the Tritons, which is kind of a cool name. But these are, of course, cool. Your San Diego. Ooh, I forgot the name.
Is it something religious?
No, it's like a Spanish word. I was going to say trabajos, but that just means work.
Friars or something.
No, toreros. Toreros. It's like a bullfighter, I think. Because of San Diego's robust
Diego Torero, that is the name.
Yeah, San Diego's robust bullfighting industry they have down there. All the bullfights. So yes, the rare Andy Max play, whatever the hell it is. A torero is a bullfighter, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, if anyone has any other good questions about basketball, I said I did run my numbers. I don't have much else to say on the slate, but if you had a question, somebody in the chat said Pitt beats Duke today. That's kind of been a theme. A lot of people have been beating Duke. Some of these blue bloods aren't as good this year. It's kind of fun to shit on Duke and Kentucky and these teams, but Pitt, I mean, if you're getting 4 points there, might as well take the points as well if you think they're going to beat them. Maybe split that up. The game I will probably watch at 6 is Maryland, Michigan. See how Michigan can bounce back off her. It's a tough place. It doesn't matter if there's fans or not. One of the toughest places to play in the country, right here in my home state, the Barn. If you've never watched a Gophers game, I think people just get freaked out because the whole playing floor is like raised up 6 feet. And if you fall off that, you fall a long ways. It might even be worse without fans because there's fewer people to catch you. So I think people just get freaked out when they play in the Barn.
Who designed that? It always blows my mind. I think Vanderbilt has the same setup where like the benches are way below the floor. That just seems like a bad idea.
No, it's
just asking for trouble.
It's like the second oldest arena that's still in use in the country. So I'm guessing whoever designed it died 50 years ago, Alex. But I mean, it's a super old. It's a super old arena.
Maybe we can dig him up and ask him.
Hey, guess what? Tennis won. How did your basketball? I know. Did you go 2 out of 3? I'm going to say 2 out of 3, even though I can't confirm that.
1 out of 3, unfortunately.
Well, let's say 2 out of 4 then, because my basketball pick won. You've got a winner in the NBA and tennis. Our guy Bonzi Wells. I don't know.
That's right.
I just went with a basketball name there. Bonzi Wells, Bonzi.
Benjamin Bonzi. And this was an interesting one because it's one of the things we haven't talked about yet in terms of betting tennis, and actually it's something that we're working on to get tennis into the app. For those of you that aren't familiar with tennis, that sometimes during a match a player will get hurt, injured for whatever reason, and they have to stop the match, and it's called a retirement. Sports books grade these entirely differently. Some will pay out a winner if it's in the middle of the first set, if the first set's completed. Basically at any time. Most books, what they'll do is they'll pay after the first set is completed. Some books will actually wait and make sure that you have to end up to they have to finish the actual entire match. So go back and check and see if you got to push or you got to win there. He did win the first set and they started the second set. So I think just about every book would grade that money line a win for Mr. Bonzi. But we know that's something that our good buddy Kelly runs into all the time, Andy.
Yeah, and most books will, as long as the first set has been completed, whoever did not retire and quit due to injury or whatnot will just win the money line. All totals and spreads are usually canceled, and not usually, always. Totals and spreads are going to be canceled on a match that doesn't go to completion, but most books will give you a money line win. And seriously, your guy can be losing 6-0, 5-0, And if the other guy like pulls his muscle and has to retire, you don't have to win a single point. As long as the other guy retires, you can get yourself a money line win. So it's a strange little quirk, but I mean, I think he was going to win the match anyway. It was probably a good call. Do you have an overnight winner for me tonight?
Will do my best. Again, scheduling is kind of tough on these because they just finished play probably just about an hour ago. But at some point, probably around 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time to about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, Joseph Kovalik should be out on the court playing Carlos Tabner. And we're going to take Mr. Kovalik here as an underdog as I start most of my handicaps, taking a look at some of the whole break statistics from the last year or so, I lean towards Kovalik here. I'd actually make him a small favorite. The year before looks just about even for the two, but make him a small favorite. As I start to look back, one of the interesting parts about tennis is you have a lot of head-to-head matches with these players. It is a big sport. There's a lot of players, but most of these guys end up crossing each other at certain points. And what I tend to find is the market sometimes doesn't respond what I would say rationally to some of those results. Sometimes you'll get head-to-heads. I was trying to remember one of the WTA matches I looked at a couple weeks ago. I think the price was way off because one player was 4-0 against the other player, but they hadn't played in 3 years. So you got to go through and you got to make sure you look at some of the context of that. I think part of the reason we're getting some value on Kovalik here is that Tabner beat him in April of last year at another challenger event. And a lot of times you see kind of some momentum there. Their first match was also pretty close again there, but see some value on Kovalik here. He's a little bit older player. Again, something that sometimes the market doesn't necessarily love. And Tabner won as an underdog yesterday. So I think there's a lot of little pieces of support here, pushing some value on Kovalik. I like plus 125, would play this down to like plus 120, maybe plus 115 for a little smaller stake.
Yeah, I'm actually on a website for looking up the Slovak alphabet to try to figure out what the mark over the I is doing there. And it says it's a lengthener, so maybe Kovalik? Kovalik. And I'm going to give it a soft J. I'm going to say Josef Kovalik. So in the Istanbul Challenger, again, another one of those situations with where we stand right now during the day. We have no idea what time this match will be played because order of play is not set yet for essentially tomorrow in Istanbul, not Constantinople. But sometime in the wee hours of the morning, Josef Kovalik, I'm going to just completely change up what you said. Plus 125. You can find this at most books. I mean, this isn't like super low level tennis. Challenger. If you have trouble, obviously DM us or hit Noops up here. But for the most part, you're going to be able to find this under Challenger. It's just a level below the ATP. It's like G League to NBA. It is what it's going to be pretty apparent how to find it. And then quick question before we probably call it a day.
Dogs of 7+ points.
I'll read it just in case somebody's on a podcast. Noops. Do you have any numbers on NBA regarding dogs of 7+ points covering and winning outright? No.
I probably do, just not right now. We'll write that one down and we'll come back to that tomorrow. I do have some data there I could look at and try to see if there's something that's going on. I feel like anecdotally, there's been a lot of big underdogs that have actually won outright this year. I know Chicago's done it a couple times and a few other guys. I'll try to go back and see, try to compare this year to last year, see if it's maybe happening more or less. But I do have some numbers on that, just not right at this moment.
Yeah, that's a good listener question. Thank you, Coot24. We'll probably try to get to that later this week. As always, we appreciate any questions, especially ones that make us do research, because that's how you find edges by accident. Usually, is look up something like this and find something else. So, otherwise, yeah, not much for today. Not many NBA games, but just San Diego. The University of San Diego, not UC San Diego, plus 9.5. And our friend Josef Kovalik. I might look that one up tonight. Overnight in your overnight tennises. And that's pretty much it. We'll hit some more stuff. I'll figure out who my one and dones for golf are tomorrow. I'll look at more basketball. We should have some fat slates of both NBA and college later in the week. And maybe even talk some UFC later this week. There's a big fight. So,
yeah.
With that, we thank you.
Until next time.
Tomorrow.